And now, you are watching WCTV News live at 5.
Welcome into WCTV's Newscast live at 5. I'm Meg Berry.
And I'm Joe Shirillo.
The past Tuesday was the final chapel service of the semester here at Waynesburg University. As we end the school year, along with the academic awards, they were handed out at this service. Some of the awards handed out included the Stover Entrepreneur Writing Award and the Vira Hines Scholarship. The Stover Writing Award went to Ray Accor, and the recipients of the Vira Hines Scholarship were Lydia Otto, Jaden Sturm, and Riley Baker. Congratulations to all the award winners.
Next week will be finals week for Waynesburg University students. Here is a look at the schedule of upcoming final exams. All evening classes will meet at the normal times for their final exams if they are having a test during that class, And the final time for exams is on Friday, May 2nd at 2:30 p.m. If students are unsure whether their classes will be having a final exam, they are encouraged to contact their professors.
With finals week upcoming, the university is hosting multiple events this week. Tomorrow at 4:30, it's the Wayne Stock Country themed celebration in Johnson Commons, followed by a picnic dinner at 5 p.m. Next week, late night breakfasts in the Benedum Dining Hall are back for finals week. At 9:30 Monday night will be the Benedum late night breakfast, and then Tuesday night at the same time will be the hot dog bar in the dining hall, and on Wednesday will be the nacho bar.
The Shapiro administration is continuing their energy initiative to save the state money. Yesterday, they installed a pair of solar arrays at the Gifford Pinchot State Park, which is projected to save Pennsylvania taxpayers $100,000 annually. It is a part of the DCNR's Clean Energy Initiative, which aims to save the state around $40 million over the next 2 decades with energy conservation efforts.
Coming up is updates on the passing of Pope Francis,
plus a slew of executive orders signed today by President Trump, and a look at a rally at Florida State calling for gun control. All that and more on the newscast.
Welcome back into the newscast live at 5. The body of Pope Francis was transferred to St. Peter's Basilica during the procession earlier today, where it is now lying in state. Thousands of people have flooded into Rome from all around the world to pay their final respects. The Pope's coffin occupies a sacred space in front of the altar above the tomb of St. Peter, who is recognized as the first Pope. It will remain there for the next 3 days until his funeral this Saturday.
As the body of Pope Francis is lying peacefully in state at the altar of the Confession near the tomb of St. Peter in St. Peter's Basilica Wednesday, outside a somewhat different feel, crowds sprinted to get in line to view the body before viewing closed midnight. All Wednesday, the walls of the Vatican City at a swell, with lines stretching as far as the eye can see, as thousands of mourners waited to pay final respects to a man they felt they knew.
He cared for the poor, for animals, and changed the Catholic Church.
Trying to unify and accepting different religions, races, and genders.
Cardinals were the first to pay their respects among thousands of mourners passing by. 135 cardinals are now charged with choosing the Pope's successor in the coming weeks.
Very sophisticated electorate.
Mourners say they hope the values that Pope Francis modeled will endure.
Who will stand for the truth, to unite everyone, poor, rich, black, white, and all sorts of people, even believers and non-believers.
Pope Francis's papacy was unprecedented in many ways, by being more inclusive, supporting same-sex civil unions, and his advocacy for migrants. In his final message, the Holy Father called for an end to wars in Gaza Ukraine, and Sudan. His outpouring of love for others from around the globe now being reflected back onto him as he lies in state in a simple open wooden coffin upon the altar of the confession.
He was the Pope of the people.
In Rome, I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
President Donald Trump is almost single-handedly moving stock markets around the world with his tariff policies. Experts say he also might be moving the U.S. and global economics toward slowdowns. Trump claims he has the right to impose tariffs unilaterally when fentanyl and border security are involved. He also argues trade deficits are a threat to national security. Amy Kiley reports on a new lawsuit challenging that assertion.
The president has absolutely no legal authority to issue these tariffs.
A group of 12 states is suing the Trump administration over the president's use of tariffs. It's taking the matter to the U.S. Court of International Trade. President Donald Trump claims he can impose tariffs single-handedly due to the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. It gives the president authority to respond to unusual and extraordinary threats.
We started with the fentanyl border tariffs. The IEPA is also used for the trade deficit.
The lawsuit argues that's an overreach. It notes the Constitution gives Congress the power to collect taxes and duties. U.S. businesses have to pay applicable tariffs on imports. Experts say they often pass on some or all of that expense to consumers in the form of higher prices.
Arizona cannot afford this Trump tax increase. And make no mistake, no matter what Orwellian doublespeak the White House uses, tariffs are taxes.
The lawsuit comes as Trump is warning negotiations during his 90-day pause on so-called reciprocal tariffs might not last 90 days in some cases. He says he might have some rates settled in 2 or 3 weeks.
We're going to have great deals. And by the way, if we don't have a deal with a company or a country, we're going to set the tariff.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
President Donald Trump went on a signing frenzy yesterday here in the state capitol. He signed 7 executive orders on education. One takes aim at the college accreditation process. The order targets the federal government's process for deciding what colleges and universities can access billions of dollars in federal student loans and Pell Grants. It also directs the Attorney General and Secretary of Education to investigate unlawful discrimination by higher education institutions. Trump also signed an executive order aimed to bringing artificial intelligence into K-12 schools. In a third order, the president threatens to cut off federal funding for schools that fail to disclose where their foreign money is coming from.
Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. made a stop in Charlotte, North Carolina yesterday. He was there to raise awareness on the issue of plastic contamination and a push for safer food practices. Michelle Alfine has the latest.
If we care about our children's health, we have to look at all of them.
As a part of his Make America Healthy Again agenda, Secretary Kennedy wants to tackle chemical contamination in food. Part of that is his announced ban on food dyes. Another is reducing our reliance on plastic packaging.
Microplastics and chemicals from food production assembly lines and packaging don't only end up in our food, they also contaminate our soil, our water, our oceans.
He spoke Wednesday at a summit on plastic alternatives in Charlotte, calling for industry innovation to work ahead of potential regulation. Atlantic Packaging President Wes Carter says that's what his company tries to do, relying on recyclable paper packaging when it can.
We're also innovating a lot of new alternative materials like plastics made from things like seaweed or mycelium.
While RFK Jr. is calling for change around plastic and chemical contamination, environmental groups say his words seem out of step with other Trump administration actions.
We hear Administrator Zeldin and the Trump administration talking about and effectuating rollbacks of all sorts of safeguards and protections and regulations put in place to protect human health and the environment.
Mary McLean Asbill with the Southern Environmental Law Center says, if this administration is serious about cleaning up our food and water supply, the EPA should maintain and enforce strict regulations through the Clean Air and Water Acts.
President Donald Trump says Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky is prolonging the war through inflation statements. Trump posted about negotiations to end the conflict between Ukraine and Russia just hours after Vice President J.D. Vance said now is the time for a peace deal. And Vance gave some new hints as to what the U.S. would propose to make it all happen. Brian Abel reports from the White House.
It's time for them to say yes or for the U.S. to walk away from this process. Those were the words from Vice President J.D. Vance this morning in India, talking about Russia and Ukraine, saying the U.S. has, quote, issued a very explicit proposal to both countries. Vance also floating the idea of redrawing the borders of both, basically saying each side would have to give up some land as one of the final steps in reaching peace, telling reporters this.
I feel pretty optimistic about it. I think everybody has been negotiating in good faith, but it's now time, I think, to take, if not the final step, one of the final steps, which is at a broad level, the party saying, we're going to stop the killing, we're going to freeze the territorial lines at some level close to where they are today, and we're going to actually put in place the kind of long-term diplomatic settlement that hopefully will lead to long-term peace.
The comments come just hours after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukraine would never accept a deal that legitimized Russia's annexation of Crimea. And after a key meeting in London between leaders from the U.S., the U.K., and Ukraine aimed at bringing an end to the war was downgraded after Secretary of State Marco Rubio said he would be skipping the summit he was expected to be a part of due to logistics. U.S. Special Envoy for Ukraine and Russia, Keith Kellogg, will represent the U.S. instead. Simultaneously, President Trump's Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, is expected to this week be in Moscow for direct talks with Vladimir Putin of Russia. At the White House, Brian Abel reporting.
Last week, the Florida State community was shattered after a gunman opened fire on campus, killing 2 and wounding several others. On Wednesday, the students marched to the state capitol to call for gun-reform legislation. The protest was led by the group Students Demand Action. Dozens of students joined the efforts, including some who say they are still scarred following last Thursday's shooting. The students say they want to see gun laws reevaluated, including the mental health evaluations that come with them. They also spoke with lawmakers about their call for gun law reform.
That will do it for national news. Coming up next is Mia Hankins with business and entertainment. But first, let's take a quick step outside with Seth Adams for a quick look at the weather.
Here at Waynesburg University, it is a beautiful day today. We're in 81 degrees right now. We've seen blankets, we've seen hammocks here on campus. People are hitting badminton. It has been a wonderful, wonderful day. But stay tuned in a little bit. I'll have your full week's forecast right here on WCTV.
Welcome back to the newscast. I'm Mia Hankins with your business and entertainment update. Motorola will soon unveil updated versions of its Razr flip phone, which includes features powered by artificial intelligence. The new Razr, Razr Plus, and Razr Ultra all have AI tools that can analyze and summarize what's being viewed. The tools will also be able to provide suggestions to the user. The Ultra, as its name suggests, is the most pricey phone of the three, going for about $1,300. The Plus is $1,000 and the Razr is $700. They're scheduled to be released on May 15th. McDonald's is adding its first permanent menu item in 4 years. The fast food chain announced Thursday it is bringing back chicken strips and introducing a new sauce. It will start selling McCrispy chicken strips on May 5th. The chicken tenders will be served in 3 or 4 pieces with a choice of sauce, including a new creamy chili dip. Chicken strips were pulled from the menu in 2020. Now that they're back, McDonald's is one step closer to the return of the fan favorite snack wrap, which is expected this year. The snack wrap uses the same chicken tender for its filling. Credit card debt in the U.S. is at an all-time high. About 48% of Americans report having credit card debt, according to a new survey by Bankrate. And some experts worry President Donald Trump's tariffs could further burden American households. In today's Consumer Watch, Jen Sullivan breaks down the numbers.
Nearly half of Americans who have a credit card have debt. Those numbers are based on a new survey by the financial site Bankrate. And among the people who have debt, more than 70% said they believe they'd be able to pay off their balance within 5 years.
It's definitely a problem at the household level.
Ted Rossman at Bankrate says debt has reached an all-time high. According to the latest report from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, credit card debt in the U.S. has reached $1.21 trillion. That's 4% higher than a year ago. Rossman says that breaks down to about $6,600 per household.
If you make minimum payments at the average interest rate of about 20%, you're in debt for 18 years and you owe close to $10,000 in interest.
Many experts worry that higher prices due to President Donald Trump's tariffs could worsen debt for Americans. The White House is hoping it will encourage companies to bring back jobs to the U.S., but that will take time.
People are feeling squeezed between higher housing costs and medical care and food and childcare and all these things, and there's just not as much wiggle room.
If you do have a lot of credit card debt, Rossman says it's best to pay off as much as you can so you don't pay more in interest and penalties. You could also look into transferring your debt to a 0% interest credit card. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Chocolate-covered pretzel Oreos will debut on May 5th. These cookies have a chocolate cream placed between a pair of pretzel-flavored cookies that are topped with salt. Oreo officials are calling these limited edition treats the brand's, quote, first ever sweet and savory cookie. Other recent additions to the Oreo lineup include Irish cream thins, mini bars, and loaded cookies. Today in entertainment news, plenty of nostalgia for fans of a Boston boy band and a beloved childlike comedy character. Here's David Daniel with a Hollywood Minute.
It's New Kids on the Block Day, and blockheads have plenty to look forward to. The boy band's classic album Step by Step is getting a 35th anniversary re-release, and their The Right Stuff Las Vegas residency at Dolby Live at Park MGM kicks off June 20th.
We just want to elevate the show and make it kind of a little more glamorous, a little more glitzy, a little more Vegas, but also stay true to who we are as entertainers. So it's been a fun process putting the show together.
It's weird to be in this situation having a documentary made because I'm used to having control of my alter ego.
Pee-wee as himself shows you Paul Rubens as he's never been seen before, including archival footage, personal photographs, and interviews, including about his never-before-discussed personal life, filmed shortly before his death in 2023.
Death is just so final. To be able to get your message in at the last minute is incredible.
Pee-wee as himself debuts May 23rd on Max. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
That will do it for your business and entertainment update. I'm Mia Hinkins. When we return on the newscast, Ethan Spazarski has your sports.
Gotcha.
Hey, what are you doing? We're on in 30 seconds.
Fading up to Tyler and Mia in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Mia Hinkins.
And I'm Tyler Aaron, and welcome
to Jacket Sports Weekly.
Good evening, all. My name's Ethan Spazarski, and here's your final sports report of the semester. The softball team added 2 non-conference games to their schedule against Salem University this past week. The Yellow Jackets, however, got swept by losing by a combined score of 15-0. The softball team also currently right now is playing St. Vincent, dropping Game 1 3-2, and currently in Game 2. Right now, that puts the softball team in 5th place with a 22-13 overall record and an 8-8 record in the PAC play. They step back onto the diamond for the final time in the regular season at home at the Eastview Sports Athletic Complex, where Westminster comes to town. Game 1 starts at 1 p.m. and Game 2 immediately after. Baseball stood toe-to-toe yesterday against the Chatham Cougars through 17 innings. Waynesburg shot out to a 6-0 lead through the first 3 innings. But Chatham recollected itself, getting 5 of those runs back in the 5th inning. Waynesburg pushed back ahead with a 9-5 lead by the 6th inning, but Chatham retaliated once again and took a 10-9 lead in the top of the 8th. A Connor Hamrick RBI in the bottom of the 8th was able to tie and push this game into extra innings, where they would be for almost an additional 9 innings. Chatham did score a run in the 12th, but Trent Giraffa had an RBI double to extend the game, and then Vincent Turner knocked a 2-run walk-off home run to right field to give Waynesburg the 13-11 win. The team is now 7-25 overall and 3-12 in the PAC. The baseball team will complete its Game 2 of its home-and-home series versus Chatham in Pittsburgh tonight at 7:15. You can watch the game on Friday, however, versus Geneva via the Waynesburg University Sports Network, as Michael McKenzie and Anthony DeFilippo have the call for Game 1 and Luka Andrusic and myself for Game 2. Both of the men's and women's golf teams will compete in their PAC championships on Friday and Saturday in Youngstown, PA. Waynesburg right now as a team sits 7th of 9 in the PAC with a plus 67 score to par. Alan Tiroli and Matthew Carpole both have a top 25 in the PAC, however, in individual score. In Greene County baseball, Carmichael's, after a 4-1 win at Beth Center under the lights last night, will play at home tomorrow against Uniontown at 4:15. Jefferson Morgan had a 20-4 win yesterday at Mapletown. Tomorrow, the Rockets are at home against Brownsville starting at 4 p.m. Mapletown is on the other side, will head on the road and play a rescheduled game against Hundred at 5 p.m. Waynesburg Central beat McGuffey 9-2 yesterday at home, and now are on the road facing off against Albert Gallatin, with that starting off at 4. And finally, West Greene has extended its losing streak to a 4-game losing streak with a 10-3 loss versus Jeanette. On Monday, the Pioneers are back in action on the road against Greensburg Central Catholic. Greene County baseball has a lot of interplay competition right now. Undefeated Carmichael softball is on the road for their 3rd straight game and will be for the next 4. However, they play at West Greene tomorrow at 4. Jefferson Morgan heads to Mapletown for a 4 o'clock Game 2, and Waynesburg Central is hosted by California today at 4:15. In professional sports, about 50 minutes up the road in Pittsburgh, the Pirates remain in California as they wrap up a 3-game series versus the Angels. The Buccos have won their first 2 games, and both sides of the ball have been looking really well and consistent for the Pirates. The bats have remained steady and pitching has remained pretty good, especially with Andrew Heaney as he pitched a 6-inning, 1-hit, and 9-strikeout masterpiece yesterday. The Pirates play again tonight to finish off their 3-game series against the Angels at 9:29 p.m. in L.A. There is news for the Steelers. Hallelujah. I know it has been a hot minute since we have mentioned this team, but tonight is the first night of the highly anticipated and exciting NFL Draft. This year it's in Green Bay at Lambeau Field. The draft begins tonight at 8 p.m., and the Steelers will be picking at 21st overall. For now, will the Steelers draft a quarterback? If they do, who will it be? Will they address a running back early in the draft? Will it be on the defensive side of the ball? Or will they trade back and collect more picks later in the rounds? Well, you'll just have to wait and see and find out tonight at 8 and for the next 2 rounds, 2 through 7, the next 2 days. Finally, the NHL playoffs are red hot, and I know despite the Penguins not being in it, it still has checked every box. As an avid hockey fan, the playoffs have brought some all-time action in the anticipation I've been hoping for. For the most part, even with the Carolina having a 2-game lead over New Jersey and Washington having a 2-game lead over Montreal, these series have remained close and action-packed, and there have also already been 4 overtime games played through only 4 days in the playoffs. Tonight there are 4 games on the slate as Tampa Bay plays Florida at 6:30 on TBS and TNT. Ottawa hosts Toronto at 7 on ESPN. The Golden Knights of Vegas travel to Minnesota with a 9 p.m. puck drop on TBS and TNT. And lastly, St. Louis plays Winnipeg at home at 9:30 on ESPN. For all the stats, scores, and information, head over at NHL.com. I've been Ethan Spazarski, and here just one quick more look at the upcoming schedule for softball, baseball, and golf. And then on the professional side, again, make sure to check your local listings for all those games and events coming up. But I've been Ethan Spazarski with you for the final sports report of the year. I now send it over to Seth Adams for the weather after this short break.
Go back in the newscast live at 5. My name is Seth Adams with your weather. And if you're listening to my voice right now, I'm coming off of sickness. I don't know what it is, but if I voice crack like 40 times, you can laugh, but keep it to yourself. It has been a beautiful day today. We've seen sunny skies. We reached a high of 81 today. The warm weather is here, and it's here to stay. We're going to dip down into around 57 tonight with an overcast, but tomorrow we see that overcast stay and a high of 74 with some rain showers overnight into Saturday. Now, Saturday will be a chillier day, only reaching a high of 62 with those early morning showers, and we'll reach a low of 42. And then Sunday, the sun will come back, but it's still going to only be a high of 64 and a low of 38. Monday, the sun stays, and we see a high of 75, that's more like it, and a low of 43. Tuesday, cloudy skies with a high of 81 and a low of 59. And finally, Wednesday, a 6% chance of rain and high of 70 with a low of 56. Go outside, go enjoy the weather. It has been beautiful. It's here to stay. Summer is almost here. This is our last newscast of the day, of the year. So let's go enjoy some sun. But that's it for me. Sending it back over to the desk.
That will do it all for the newscast live at 5 for everyone behind the scenes and in front of the camera. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, and thank you so much to everybody here, as this is my last newscast, and I'm moving on to bigger and better things. If it wasn't for this show, I wouldn't have the job that I'm landing. So shout out to Michael McKenzie, our producer, just doing a great job this year. But stay tuned for our WCTV YouTube page and our social media platforms, because we do have a couple more productions before the season ends up. But thank you all so much for watching.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.